Hey, this is DeagleBeagle. So I'm gonna make a video about how to EV your Pokemon and how to basically set the nature and everything, and IVs too. So really, a lot of it has to do with the speeds. So let's go to the speed tiers again. So this thing, I'm gonna have to add. I didn't add Iron Hands in here. Oh, I included the one that's min speed, but I should also include it uninvested at the same speed as Sableye. That's 50 base speed. So, anyways, for EVing Pokemon in general, I recommend using the speed tiers. Let's just pretend you feel like you want exactly 70 speed. Well, let's say you're just focused on surviving. Maybe you already know you survive a lot of special attacks, but maybe you want to survive another Iron Hands' low kick. Or I should say close combat is more common. Same power though. So you go to a damage calculator and see Iron Hands, worst case scenario, assuming they have Assault Vest, which they pretty much all do. I've only seen like one that was not Assault Vest, that was like Citrus, but like Assault Vest seems like it's overall the best item, and you can just EV it less if you don't feel you need that much special defense and put it more in defense rather than like giving it Citrus. But I don't know. I mean, people do give it Citrus, but I don't personally agree with that. I would only agree with that if like it didn't usually get hit by a special move and almost all the moves were physical. But I mean, that would I don't know. Even then, you could just make it min special defense with Assault Vest and probably do about as good as Citrus. So anyways, the more you raise special defense to, the more efficient it is with Assault Vest if you actually use it, that is. And Hariyama, sorry, not Hariyama, Iron Hands really does use it, every last drop of it, because there's a lot of special attacks that super affect fighting Pokemon like Moonblast, Psychic, whatever, Dazzling Gleam. So that's why a lot of people, they're using a Terra type that gets rid of the attacks that super affect fighting, the fighting part of it. Not so much electric, because they're often using like steel or a stab move like Terra Electric I can understand, or Terra Fighting. Terra Fighting is actually more common, which I find a little bit surprising because yes, it does boost your highest power move, but electric is just a way better defensive typing. It makes you resistant to like acrobatics, hurricane. It makes you only have one weakness. If you're gonna have a defensive typing, I would have one that either gets rid of the ground weakness or the fighting weaknesses, obviously. So steel gets rid of the two fighting weaknesses, but then you're still weak to ground. So that's why like a ground move in this meta in series 2 is just really good. But anyways, this is about EVing, mostly EVing your Pokemon. So how you want to EV is, I don't know why Showdown default puts it as 0 sometimes when you don't invest anything in it and you close it and put it away. Okay, but anyways, let's say you want to survive a low kick from another. No, where's Iron Hands? Let's say you want to use Terra Steel, and when you're Terra Steel, you want to survive a close combat. Or let's say if you're not Terra Steel, you want to survive 2 close combats, and you notice that it kills 87.5% of the time. So someone must have used some defense on me, or they just got extremely lucky and survived like 1/8 of the time. that 1/8 of the time. So in this case, for example, if you want to for sure EV your Pokemon to wall an attack, then do it. It's more efficient to use usually defense or special defense to survive something than HP if the Pokemon has high HP, even if the Pokemon doesn't have high HP. But usually if they have low HP, you want to raise the HP so that you help kind of like help your special defensive side as well. But in this case, it has so much HP, you would want to give it defense, but you would need so much defense that to for sure wall it, that I don't know if it's worth it or not. Maybe maybe that's what people do. They might give it less attack and just give it. I fought an annoying one with Drain Punch, so that really threw me for a loop. So you could use something like this. It's still pretty powerful. It's pretty dang bulky, and it walls low kick for sure unless it crits. And I feel like low kick's really underrated with this thing because close combat lowers your defenses, and if you look it up, I'll have to do a video about that too. If you look it up, low kick, it gets like max or almost max power against like nearly everything that you want to hit with it, and between that and heavy slam, it covers pretty much everything. Well, you do see a lot of heavy slam with this Pokemon, even though I think Ice Punch is underrated as a move because it's good versus the things that wall its other attacks, like Salamence, Dragonite, Amoonguss. It's good versus that Garchomp, like ground types that are trying to kill it. Now, let's think about how you are supposed to normally EV stuff. So, or for the nature, I mean. You're normally supposed to have the nature that raises that stat, or your highest base stat, if you actually use it, enough of it. You're supposed to have that because 10% of a higher base is more than 10% more of a lower base. So if you gave it special defensive nature, I'll just show that. I'll copy and paste this one, or actually I'll copy and paste this one. Let's just pretend you want to have one. No, let's copy and paste it again. Let's pretend you want to have 160 defense. You want to have, yeah, 120 special defense and 177 attack. Well, if you use like defense lower nature, you're probably going to end up with less than that. So if you make it, let's just say impish, and you make it 160, then actually, let's see, yeah, you have 2 less attack, see, because you had the nature raise a stat that was lower base, so it's less efficient. I feel like there's some exceptions to that, because if you use an Amoonguss like this, let's see, bold, I think it was 127 actually. Let me see. Yeah, it was 127 like that. And if you use an Amoonguss, let me see what it was. 107 special. Okay, so if you use that, so if you use this, it's like actually less efficient, because not only do you have 5 less in defense, and you have 4 more in special defense. So actually you lost a stat, but you may want exactly, let's just say 127 defense, the stat. So actually it's more efficient to raise its defense instead of special defense in this case, which is really weird, isn't it? I'll have to figure out exactly why that is. I think it's something to do with the bumps, like every so many EVs it does like a bump, and it makes it slightly more efficient. So I think that's something to do with this, because sometimes you see how it goes from On some Pokemon, it goes from like 152 to 154 for the stat instead of going from 152 to 153. I think that's kind of the similar thing that's going on here. So you may, by the way, have to EV it less, or put the nature less efficiently when you're EVing it to get it at the exact defense you want. Because if you use a calm one, yeah, it's maybe, let's say hypothetically it was more efficient. Well, what if you really need more defense than 122? Then you would have to use a defense raising nature. So it isn't all about efficiency. It's about like what you need to do as well. And then as far as the speed goes, you would have to look at the speed tiers for that. The 49 speed Pokemon are probably the most relevant. So you could either outspeed or underspeed those, whatever you want to do. Or you could just make it min speed possible. And Hatterene still will outspeed it, but at least you speed tie with a few other things. So yeah, for EVing, the main takeaways are you need to focus on the nature, usually boosting the highest base nature that you would actually use if you use enough of that stat, unless there's a rare time when it's less efficient in general too. For Pokemon that have low HP like Misdreavus, even with Eviolite, you would probably want to raise HP because it's so low. But if you're using a move like Pain Split, then maybe not. Especially since it has Eviolite plus Pain Split, then there might be barely enough reason to just run it like this and do that rather than raise the HP, because you're trying to have like low HP so that Pain Split is more efficient and you gain your HP back, like more percentage of it basically. And plus Eviolite, it makes Eviolite more efficient if you raise the defense and special defense. So it just depends on what you're trying to do. So I hope this video was cool to watch. I would basically though just do what I do and compare Pokemon of EVing it differently and see if you can make it more efficient or not.